team has been going through your book, The Secret Code of Success, which has absolutely been amazing and been something that's been very transformative already for a lot of the members of my team. Just that simple mindset change and shift. So everybody, thank you for joining us. This is a group of hustlers. This is a group of people that are interested in knowing all those keys to success, tackling their fears, all their head trash, as you say, Noah. And so we're looking forward to that. So everyone, I want to welcome you to the call and introduce you to our guest speaker, author, Noah St. John. He is known as the Power Habits Mentor, and he is famous for helping entrepreneurs get rid of their head trash and to make more money. So we're all very excited about that. Something you may not know about Noah, though, is that he is the only author in history to have works published by Hay House, HarperCollins, Simon & Schuster, Chicken Soup for the Soul Publisher, Mind Valley, and Nightingale Conant, which is amazing. I did not know that about you, Noah, and that is kudos to you, because that is an incredible accomplishment. You may have seen him before because he does appear frequently on the news worldwide, including ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, Forbes, Parade Magazine, and the Huffington Post. Now, something you guys might not know, but I know that you'll be all rushing out to do this as soon as our call is over, because I know I will be, is that you can get Noah's new book, Get Rid of Your Head Trash, about money. Wow. I have so many members in my team, Noah, that I would love to do this book with. You can get it free. Is that right? That you're going to let us do it for free?
That's correct, yes.
That's incredible. Okay, so you're going to want to write this down. You can get it free at www.sendmeabooknoah. Sendmeabooknoah.com. Okay? So welcome, Noah. Thank you so much for doing this with us. We really, really appreciate it.
Well, it's my honor, Rhonda. I'm truly thrilled to be here. It's a privilege. And so I'm happy to, first of all, I just want to let the folks know here today that I'm certainly happy to open up for questions at the end. I'm not sure how much time we have, but I've marked off my calendar for you folks, for the team here. So I am happy to take questions, at the end if you like. And so basically, as Rhonda just mentioned, we do have my new book. It's called Get Rid of Your Head Trash About Money. Here it is right here. I know you can see that. So at that website, sendmeabooknoah.com, we do have it in two different formats. And so the format that is an ebook, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, you can just get that absolutely free, no money exchanged at all. And then if you would like to get that shipped to your door, there's just a small shipping fee. I paid for the book, so I've bought a gross of these books, and then I'm sending them out all over the world. So we just ask you to cover the shipping. So I paid for the book. We just ask you to cover the shipping cost. So that's just a nominal fee. Just to let you know when you get to that page how it's going to work. So basically, a lot of people are asking me, Noah, well, why this book and why now? Why did you write this and why now?
You didn't eat anything? Okay. Lots of mompreneurs on here.
Hey, that's great. Okay, so the reason that I just want to share a little quick background here for those of you who may not have ever heard of me before or may not be familiar with my work. So basically, I've been doing this for 20 years. I started my company, SuccessClinic.com, in my college dorm room in 1997 with $800 and a book on how to do HTML. And so I've been doing this a very long time. We're in our second decade now. And we literally have hundreds of thousands of people in over 120 countries now who are using my book or my teachings from those very humble beginnings. And so basically, in doing this work and working with so many entrepreneurs, working moms, people in the network marketing industry, chiropractors, people in the healing arts, real estate, just literally all walks of life, moms, dads, teenagers, CEOs, NFL athletes, celebrities. And kids. Basically, what we found is that I kept getting these messages from people that said, why am I stuck? They said, no, I've heard that you're the guy that helps people get unstuck. And how can I get unstuck? And I started to really think about this whole process of what does that actually mean? What does it mean to be stuck? And more importantly, of course, how can we get unstuck, right? Because that's what everybody wants to know.
Right.
So I really started to dig into this very deeply and do a lot of research, talk to, a lot of my clients and just people in the industry and so forth. And really that's where this book was born and why it was born.
Yeah.
So basically, tonight I'm certainly happy to talk about any of the things that we look at in the teaching, or also Secret Code of Success. I know some of you may be studying that book as well, so I can talk about any of those things. But basically, what I think might be helpful tonight is the subtitle is How to Avoid the 3 Big Money Mistakes That Even Smart People Make. And I know that everybody on this call is very smart. And that's why you're here.
Yeah.
And so the point is I can just kind of give you a quick overview of really those 3 big mistakes. And then, of course, we can look at how to fix those. And again, any other questions, I'm happy to answer those. So basically, the first mistake that I talk about is this whole concept of your head trash. And the question, of course, is, well, what does that mean? What's head trash? Well, basically, your head trash, the way that I teach it on our campus at successclinic.com is your head trash is that guy in your head that says, I can't do it because ... And then you fill in the blank, right? You fill in the blank with your ... So for example, you say, well, I can't do it because I don't have the time, right? I'm a working mom. I've got, kids. I've got a family. I've got all these responsibilities. So I don't have the time, right? And that's a very common thing. Then there's other head trash that says, well, I can't do it because I don't have the money. I can't afford it. I've got all these responsibilities. I've got bills to pay. I've got this and that. I've got, all these things. And, I just don't have the money. And that's very common. Then, of course, we have the head trash that says, well, I can't do it because I'm a woman, right? And women have this, that, and that. And so, see, that's why I can't do it. Or I can't do it because I didn't go to college, or I didn't go to the right college, or I didn't go to the right school, or I don't live in the right place, or I don't have the right opportunity, or blah, 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 blah. And that really, I say blah, 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 because that really is what it is. It's a lot of blah, blah, blah that we have in our head. But here's the thing, folks, and this is what's really, really important to understand about your head trash, is you always make yourself right. You always make yourself right. And here's what I mean by that. If you're telling yourself, hey, I don't have the time. I can't do it because I don't have the time. Guess what? You always make yourself right, and you never have the time. If you tell yourself, I can't do it because I don't have the money, you make yourself right and you don't have the money. If you tell yourself, I can't do it because I'm too old, you find the reasons why that's true too. We human beings always make ourselves right. And that is not good news when you're being held back by your head trash. So one of the exercises that I give you in the book, and I'll just give it to you right here, is I just invite you, I encourage you to say, hey, what's that big head trash that I've been listening to? What's that guy in my head telling me? I can't do it because why? And then I want you to write down, and you don't have to share this with anybody, or you can share with a friend if you want, but how is that affecting you? How is that belief, that one single belief, affecting your life, affecting your results, affecting your success, affecting your money, your finances, your business? And frankly, it could even be affecting your health, your relationships, your family life. There's a lot of ways that your head trash can really hold you back, and is holding you back usually, and usually it's without our conscious awareness. So just that one simple exercise is one of the first steps when people come to me for coaching or mentoring. That's one of the first things we do is I sit down and say, okay, let's look at your head trash and how is it affecting you? So that one simple exercise, I think, could be very valuable for some of the folks here on this call. So that's the first big mistake. Now, the second big mistake that I look at is not having a mentor, trying to do everything yourself. Now, I know that, like I said a moment ago, everybody on this call, everybody watching this program is very, very smart. But it's very, very hard to be successful in business today without a mentor. I'll give you an example. I started my company, as I mentioned a moment ago, in 1997 in my college dorm room with $800 and a book on how to do HTML. Now, 1997, that's 20 years ago right now. So I've been doing this for 2 decades. The problem was, when I started my company, I was a religious studies major in college. Prior to that, I had been a professional ballet dancer in my teens and early 20s, and I had to retire from that industry because of a career-ending injury. So I was literally out on the street with no money, no contacts, no business experience, no skills, nothing. And so I had to work a bunch of survival jobs just to survive. Well, then when I discovered Success Anorexia and Affirmations, which is the two things that created all those works that Rhonda mentioned a moment ago, my Hay House book, my HarperCollins book, Mind Valley, and all those other places that, that I am the only author in history that's been published by all these, places, platforms, publications, companies. When I had that discovery, I was literally, I had no idea what I was doing, but I just had a dream. I had a desire to help people. I had a desire, a burning desire to make a difference, to have an impact, to help people. And I know it sounds corny. I know it sounds old fashioned, but that's the truth. And so I know a lot of you may be feeling the same way too. You really want to help people. You really want to make a difference. You want to help, improve lives all around the world. I know that's true. The problem is I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any skills. I didn't have any knowledge. I didn't have the right, experience. And I didn't have a mentor. And so it took me 10 long years to really understand that if I kept going the way I was going, I was never going to be there. So I ended up I started in 1997. In 2007, I ended up $40,000 in credit card debt working out of my parents' basement. So try that on for size. After 10 years of hard work, $40,000 in credit card debt working out of my parents' basement. So that's when I realized that I had to do something different. And prior to that, I'd never had a mentor. I was spending all this money trying to figure it out, trying to just sort of piecemeal it together. And maybe some of you are still doing that. But for me, it was, I've got to have someone help me who actually knows what they're doing. Now, on our campus at Success Clinic, what we teach is a mentor is two things. And this is really, really important. And I just want to get this point across because I see a lot of people struggling with this. The first thing that you want to look for in a mentor is it's got to be somebody who's where you want to be. Somebody who is where you want, right? You're here where you are and you want to be there. Well, of course, it's got to be someone who's either there or has been there. Okay? Someone who is where you want to go. That makes sense, doesn't it? Now, that's the easy part. So the problem is there's a lot of people who are there. But the second criterion is what they miss. And the second part, what we teach, is that it's got to be someone who can also show you how to get there. Show you step by step how to get there. Now, in this industry, we have a lot of very persuasive people. In the personal growth, self-help, money-making industry, there's a lot of really great salesmen, a lot of great marketers, a lot of persuasive people who have made a lot of money for themselves. And that's great for them. Nothing against that. The problem is when you listen to these people and you go, have they helped anybody else or just themselves? And 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, what we see is the main success story that they have is themselves. And have they helped anybody? We don't know. And so here's the point, folks. That's the difference between personality-driven and systems-driven. Personality-driven means it's dependent on that guru's personality. And like I just said a moment ago, there's a lot of, big personalities out there. But there's a difference between personality-driven and systems-driven. The point is, if you take the personality out, what do you have? Kind of nothing, right? So that's why, like when you go to our website and click on that praise page, we have a little button there that says praise. If you click on that button, you'll see story after story, dozens and dozens and dozens of real life stories from real people who've used my system to make millions and millions and millions of dollars. And literally right now, as we record this, my clients have made on the aggregate over $500 million in sales, $500 million. So that point is that if you have something that's personality driven, it's completely dependent on that guru's personality. What happens when they're not there? Probably won't get the result. But when it's systems driven, then the point is it doesn't matter who it is. That's why I just said a moment ago, we've had teenagers, moms, dads, CEOs, NFL athletes, chiropractors, people in the healing arts, network marketers, real estate. It really doesn't matter because when you have a system, it just works as long as you do the work. It's not magic, right? It is something you have to do and apply. But that's the point about having a mentor. And I kind of like to take a few moments to talk about that because I see a lot of people, in fact, so many have come to me with this exact problem. Just as a real quick example, there's one woman on that praise page that I mentioned. Her name's Sheila. She's in a network marketing company. And when she came to me, she was making about $5,000 a month in sales. Now, $5,000 a month is pretty darn good, right? You're like, well, yeah, that's really nice. The problem is Sheila had spent over $40,000 on all these other programs and was still really couldn't get over that plateau. She couldn't get over that hump. And so when she found out about my work, she was very skeptical, and she said, well, it's probably all the same. It's probably what we heard before. And, I don't blame her for that. Her husband basically was listening to me also. It was at a live event, when I speak for network marketing companies. And they both were sort of talking to each other. And finally they said, you know what? I think we should do this. I think it is different. Long story short, I worked with Sheila for about 6 months. By the end of that year that we worked together, her sales had gone from being stuck at $5,000 a month to over $75,000 a month, $75,000 per month. So she qualified for the car, she got all the trips, and everything else happened as a result of going through the system. So that's what's so awesome, is that no matter what you've done in the past, once you apply a system, as long as it is an effective one, then you're going to get the results too. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So anyway, I just wanted to share that story.
Yeah, I love that story. Thank you.
What's that?
I said, I love that story. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All light bulbs for people went off when you were talking about that, about systems over personality, because we see that so much in network marketing. There are a lot of big personalities in our company and our industry. And people don't realize that, those personalities, that's great. That works for them. That's made them successful. But how can you duplicate that? What system can you come up with that you can duplicate so others can find that same success?
We need to go out. Okay.
That's what I talk about, as you may know, in the Secret Code of Success. So I specifically talk about that because that's what I call the power habits. We now call it the power habits of unconsciously successful people. So those big personalities that you mentioned, that's exactly what's happening. They are, in fact, unconsciously competent at allowing themselves to succeed. So I am the person, I'm the person that invented, developed, discovered the system, the only system that actually breaks down what those unconsciously successful people are doing so that the rest of us can do it. Because, see, I'm not a natural.
Right.
I'm not one of those unconsciously competent people at all. I mean, and I tell that story in Secret Code of Success and also Book of Affirmations. And so anyway, my point is that I basically created the system for me because I got so tired of listening to all the same people say the same stories and go, why am I trying to do what you're doing and it's not working for me?
Right.
And I realized it's not their fault. They're nice people, good people, most of them. And they're just unconsciously competent. And it's like, well, great for you, but how about me? And how about the rest of us?
Right.
So that's what many people say is, my system is the system for the rest of us.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that most people are not unconsciously competent. I mean, that just is pretty obvious when you look out in the world. So what's so awesome, and that's, look, I get more excited talking about my students' success stories than mine. And that's what I was saying a moment ago about the mentor. What you really need to look for is those two things. Are they where you want to be? Important. But I argue that it's more important that can they show you how to get there? Mm-hmm. And another great example of that is when you look at the field of coaching in like athletics. I mentioned that, we have a lot of professional athletes using my system as well now. Well, when you look in athletics, you realize that there are basically two kinds of coaches. There's the ones who were really good players and the ones who were sort of average players, but great coaches. The great example is Magic Johnson versus Phil Jackson. Now, I don't know how many basketball fans we have here, but Magic Johnson was, there's no question, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Easily in the top 10. I mean, any vote you want to see. But he was a sucky coach. He really sucked. Sorry, and he would admit this. But he was really not any good as a coach. He was pretty much a failure. And he would admit that. Phil Jackson, meanwhile, was a very sort of average, mediocre player. He was all right. But I think, again, you can pretty much say that he was certainly one of the top 3 of all time in terms of coaches. Many would say the number 1 of all time. So you can look at that in golf and football, baseball, any endeavor. So don't get sucked in. And this is, again, why I'm kind of on a crusade here. And I I do go on a little about it, but you'll forgive me because I just see so many people get seduced by those big personalities and frankly spending all that money and not getting the results that they want. And they come to me. They end up coming to me after spending $30,000, $50,000, $100,000, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I just want to help them. I want to help spare them and save that money so you don't have to waste all that time, money, and effort. Again, I'm not saying these are bad people. I'm sure they mean well, most of them. Some don't, but most of them do. But again, you just want to make sure that it's systems driven, not personality driven. I think I've made the point. Like I said, I'm a little on a crusade here, so please forgive me.
Hey, we can relate to crusades. We're on a crusade here.
I know that. That's why I felt I could share that with you.
Yes.
Okay, and then the third big mistake really that I see, and this honestly, even if you do those other two right, but you just keep making this mistake, it's really going to hold you back. And honestly, you're going to be what we call driving down the road of life with one foot on the brake. And that is gathering too much information without giving yourself permission to succeed. Now, as we all know, right now, there is just too much information, right? So here's the analogy that I like to share with my audiences, my live events or, here on training programs like this. So imagine you're walking on the beach and, you have that special someone with you and it's a beautiful day and the sun's on your face and you feel the sand beneath your toes, you hear the ocean and you feel the wind in your hair and it's just a beautiful day. Well, all of a sudden you hear something and you're like, what was that? Did you hear that? And all of a sudden you're out in the ocean, you hear help, help, help. And out there's someone drowning in the ocean. Now, in that moment, what would you do? Well, of course you'd leap into action, wouldn't you? Right? You certainly, if you're a good swimmer, you'd run out to save them, swim out there, hopefully save them and try to help them or get some help from somebody, a lifeguard or whatever, right? So instantly we would go and help that person, wouldn't we? I mean, we would all do that. So here's what I want to ask everybody. If you saw someone drowning out there in the ocean, would you throw them a bucket of water? Would you throw a bucket of water on their head? Not unless you really didn't like that person, right? I mean, that would be pretty bad. So the point that I'm making here is we are all drowning in what I call shelf help information. We're drowning in shelf help. And yet we keep pouring buckets of water on our own head. Okay? We are all doing this. So I actually wrote about this whole subject literally 20 years ago in my first book, which was entitled Permission to Succeed. That was a book that was published by the Chicken Soup people. Eventually, I first self-published it, but then it was picked up by the Chicken Soup people. And so I published this before there was any social media, before Facebook, before YouTube, before blogging, before Twitter, before LinkedIn, before any of this stuff. And I already could see it coming down a train that was about to run us all over. Well, now we've all been run over by the train called too much information. And we keep pouring buckets of water on our head. Do you see the craziness here? So what I am suggesting here is that, number one, there is too much information and it will never stop. And so the point is, you can keep gathering all the information you want, but if you don't give yourself permission to succeed, if you don't get your foot off the brake, if you don't get rid of your head trash, whether it's about money, whether it's about family, whether it's about health, relationships, weight loss, your finances, your business, whatever it might be, and we can have head trash in all those areas. The point is, if you don't do the steps to get rid of that head trash, you will be holding yourself back from the success you're capable of. There is just no way around that at this point in time. So again, I am not saying that sometimes we don't need some different pieces of information. But what I do see the problem is that because information is infinite, it is ubiquitous, we are drowning in it, that's where people get stuck. So I'm just inviting you to look at where are you drowning in shelf help. And what I love is when people take pictures, they do this all the time. They send me their pictures of their shelf help. They go, no, look at all my shelf help. And they said, you know what? After I took your class, I got rid of all my shelf help. And people say, they've said this many times, that my courses, my programs are the last self-help, the last personal growth programs that they ever needed. Now, that's not me saying that, that's my client saying it. But nevertheless, the point is, whatever you need to do to give yourself permission to succeed. I happen to be the guy that wrote the books on the subject. So that's what I teach. That's what I've been teaching for 2 decades. But whatever you do, I just urge you to, number 1, stop drowning in self-help, and number 2, give yourself permission to succeed.
I love that. We preach a similar message. You know, we feel like sometimes our people get involved in our business and they stay in this mode of gather,
Right.
Gather information about the company, about the product, about network marketing, about how it works. And there comes a point where you just have to act. But why do these people not act? Why do they just continue to gather? And yes, that.
That would be their head trash, folks.
Exactly. And that's
sorry, that was just too easy to do that. But that's the answer to your question, Ron.
Exactly. And so that's what we've identified and what we preach, and why your materials came into our hands, because it lines up right with the message that we've been trying to tell everyone. Is it all starts here, a decision to be successful, a decision to try, a decision to move forward. It all starts here, because actually, for those of us who, you know, have reached, you know, the top of the company or whatever, we gathered along the way, but we were moving. You know, we weren't sitting and gathering. We were moving quickly and gathering information that was needed at the time.
That's right.
Not all the information, you know, and at each level, some amounts of information or new information are needed. But I know people who've read all the same books as me and haven't moved forward. So I love how you're talking about that. So in that permission to be successful, what would you say is the first step that people take when they are beginning to give themselves permission? What does that look like?
Well, that is really the exact step-by-step process, method, formula, system, blueprint, framework that I give you in, number 1, the Secret Code of Success book, and number 2, what we now call Money Mindset Mastery. So I can actually give you a website that you can go to. It's moneyandmindsetmastery.com. So make sure you put the word "and" in there, moneyandmindsetmastery.com.
Okay.
And that's my program, which was formerly called Power Habits Academy, and also, again, the Secret Code of Success. So that is the process. So when I discovered success anorexia, which is the reason that people are holding themselves back from success, is that condition that I named, that no one else had ever talked about, that caused these behaviors. See, everybody was only talking about the behaviors. So, for example, it's been very well known for decades that human beings sabotage themselves. Duh, right? Like, yeah, that's kind of obvious, isn't it? But the problem is, until me, the cure for that process, for the phenomenon called self-sabotage, you want to know what the cure was? Don't do that. That was the cure. Hey, if you're sabotaging yourself, stop doing that.
Right.
Wow, thank you. That was really helpful, man.
Yeah.
Seriously? But that really was it. And believe me, I know, because I read every book, and I'm like, are you serious, dude? That's it? Yeah. And yeah, that was it. So I'm like, okay, this can't be right. And it wasn't right. No, why do you think people spend tens of thousands, over $100,000 on everything else before coming to me? They come to me and, oh my gosh, they get fixed. I wonder why. Because I fixed it.
Yeah.
You know? And so the point is that is the process. So again, the answer to your question is, it's the 7-step process that I laid out in, first Permission to Succeed, then the Secret Code of Success, and now Money and Mindset Mastery. So moneyandmindsetmastery.com is the URL. By the way, just really quickly, that's an online program. And then what I do is I teach live classes. So twice a year. In fact, we're coming up on that in just a few weeks now, where I'm going to be teaching the class live. And I also do live events as well. We have a live event coming up too.
Yeah.
But anyway, my long story short is that is the process. And it starts with affirmations. So affirmations, which you may or may not be familiar with, but if you've read The Secret Code of Success, you should be familiar with it, is the first step. And so the nice thing about the Money Mindset Mastery, the Power Habits system, is that it's kind of like duct tape. It fixes everything. I literally had one of my clients years ago who said to me, Noah, do you realize that your training is the only training that fixes every other training? And I thought about that and I said, that's a really good point. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that, but yeah, I see that. And I thought that was really nice. But anyway, that is, again, why people, like Sheila, who went from $5,000 to $75,000 a month. Susan, who went from $60,000 in credit card debt to a six-figure income in less than a year. Brandon tripled his income in a month. I mean, if I tried to do this, I don't see how I could do it. And people go, well, that's impossible. I go, well, yeah, if you keep your foot on the brake, it's definitely impossible. If you get your foot off the brake, I don't know what's not possible. So that's how it works. And these are real people, real stories,
Exactly. And that was kind of the epiphany for me, that first step that you talk about, the affirmations. One of the reasons why I was like, we have to do this book in our group, these group of awesome people who are working so hard to achieve our company's travel reward that they give. And when I was driving, I happened to be listening to like an Audible version of your book while I was driving. I have 5 kids, by the way. So
I know, I saw that.
All the information.
Wait a minute. Now, isn't that an excuse of why you can't do it?
Yeah, exactly why. But I'm not making excuses. I was
no kidding. I know that. I'm saying that for other people's benefit. I'm going, let's see. Rhonda has 5 kids.
Listening to that Audible version, and so many people that I have coached and talked through affirmations, things like that. When you broke that down, when you explained the difference between an affirmation and an affirmation, that was the epiphany that I had, because I thought, so many of my affirmations work because they're beliefs I hold. You know what I mean? They're just beliefs I hold. But what about these people I've been trying to get from point A to point B for so long, and it's because they don't believe what they're saying. They don't believe those affirmations.
Exactly.
And when you explained that, it was like all those light bulbs went off. A million connections were being made. Yeah. And such a powerful thought process, and then really gave a lot of freedom to a lot of people.
Yes.
Because there was a lot of people really beating themselves up over the fact of, well, I just don't get it. And affirmations don't work for me. And really, really feeling, it just made them feel worse about themselves instead of making them feel better. And when we gave them the power to ask themselves the question and allow your brain to start answering the question for you and working it out, it just changed everything. So I agree. It has bled over and changed into so much of all of the training I've already received and all the training I'm involved in, and given a whole new perspective on so many of the things that I train and do.
Wonderful. I'm very honored by that. By the way, I just want to type in the chat here because I know a lot of people are asking about this. I'm going to give you the link where you can get the Affirmations book as well for free. Yeah. So in fact, I'll go ahead and I'll type all that in. So it's affirmationsbook.com.
Okay.
And again, that is where I pay for the books and we just ask you to cover the shipping. So again, anywhere on planet Earth, we ship there. So in the United States, it's $8.99. So that's it for the total cost of the book plus shipping. So that's for the Affirmations book. And then I'll just go ahead and put in the link there for
the class, that if people might want to purchase more or get involved in
it. Okay,
class.
so that's moneyandmindsetmastery.com. And I'm just going to, I mentioned, our live event coming up.
Yeah.
And that's moneymarketingmastery.com. That's going to be where I teach you the money mindset and the marketing. So it's inner game and outer game. So It's a brand new event that I have never done. And that's going to be coming up in Las Vegas in just a few weeks when you go to that. So I know those two web pages are a little bit alike. So moneyandmindsetmastery.com is for the online program. Moneymarketingmastery.com is for the live event. We'd certainly love for the folks here to join us. And by the way, you can join us on live stream too. If you can't,
that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask for both of us.
What's that?
That's what I was going to ask. If there was a live stream.
Yes. So we do. I know we have some Plexus folks who have already signed up for the live stream. So we definitely invite you to do that. And I'm super excited about it. And the reason is because what I see, you can either be stuck in inner game or outer game, or frankly, both. And most of the people who come to me, who have come over the last 2 decades, are usually stuck in both. Mm-hmm. And so what's so exciting is to be able to give them the inner game mastery piece, those essential steps, and then to be able to walk them through, like, for example, I'm going to teach you my power formula to have an irresistible lead magnet. I'm going to teach you the 5 essential, we call it the foundational 5 steps of your cash machine website. For those of you who want to have your own website. We also are going to look at sales funnels and the 6 methods to drive traffic, to your online store. So I'm just going to lay it all out for you. And what people don't really believe, I guess, is that the outer game stuff is easy once you master the inner game. But if you haven't mastered the inner game, there's no way you can go to the outer game. Yeah. And so what the problem is so many people who come to me have spent so much money on all this outer game stuff, meaning marketing, sales funnels, all that stuff. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. You have to have it. If you want to make money, you have to have your outer game. There's no question about it. But what's happening is that those other teachers, not meaning to, but they tried to shove marketing down your throat when your head was rejecting it in the first millisecond. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean? So what I do is I clear out your head trash first. Yeah. And then we can very nicely put that outer game stuff in. You're like, oh, now I get it. And you do it. I'll just give you a quick story. We had one fellow, his name is Bill, and he actually heard me speak it was a real estate conference, because, I speak for real estate, network marketing, chiropractic, healing arts, small business owners all over the world. And so he came to happened to be a real estate conference, and he literally came up to me. I'm not making this up. And he says, Noah, why is this any different? I've done all this stuff. And he says, I've been studying this for 40 years. He goes, what makes this any different? I go, well, Bill, I just talked to you for 90 minutes. If you don't think it's any different now, then I guess it probably isn't. And he was, of course, he's ready for a fight, one of those, like very skeptical and all this. And he was like, what? And he thought I was going to give him the sales pitch. I'm like, Bill, I don't have to sell this. The thing sells itself. $500 million. What do you want? I mean, seriously, if you're not ready, fine. But, what am I going to do? Anyway, he was so shocked that he ended up signing up. So long story short, he came to my live event. At that live event, he literally stood up. And we have this on video. You can watch this. And he literally stood up. He said, Noah, I want you to know that I came to this event to expose you as a charlatan. He said that. Now, for those of you who, a charlatan basically means a liar, a fraud, a phony, right? Somebody who's just lying. And he said, Noah, I have been studying personal growth for 40 years. He says, I have a master's in psychology. And he said, you have taught me more in the last 3 days than I have learned in the previous 40 years. He said that. And I'm going, whoa. I mean, that in itself was a most amazing thing. And then he said, Noah, I have just completed $1 million deal at this event. He said, I've just met people and we have just completed $1 million deal at this event, not waiting till after. He did $1 million deal. Now, it just so happens that I just spoke at another real estate conference just a few months ago up in New England. Guess who was there? Bill. I hadn't seen him for a couple of years because this was a couple of years ago, this event. And I said, hey, Bill, how's it going? He goes, well, Noah, it's going pretty good. I said, well, what does pretty good mean? He goes, well, Noah, now I'm doing multi-billion-dollar deals. I'm doing multi-billion-dollar deals. And he says, I never would have been able to have the confidence to do this if not what I learned from you. So he gave me, and of course he did the work. I'm not taking credit for his work. He did it. But he said, I never would have been there if not for the inner game mastery that I learned from you, if not for coming that weekend. So when you hear stories like that, that's what gets me jumping out of bed in the morning. That's what makes me so excited.
Well, that's what I'm hoping, that at the end of this book, study, and of course, as more people participate in more of the awesome inner game stuff that you've got going on, that we're going to begin to hear those success stories, and we will absolutely be sending them to you and letting you know some of the accomplishments of the people on this group from getting rid of their head trash.
Well, now, let me just say something, because I heard, now this is the Maui Momentum, what is it? Maui
Momentum Makers.
Maui Momentum Makers. So let me just ask a question here. So when all you guys get to go to Maui, do I get to come too? If I was able to help you, do I get to tag along?
Well, we have one way you can do that, and you can join our team, and we will.
Oh, there you go. Right. Okay. Well, I didn't know. Maybe you need a little, maybe I could do a little speaking or something.
Hey, now that we may be able to pull off.
Uh-huh.
They definitely asked my opinion, so I will definitely make it known.
Uh-huh. There we go.
One way for you to get there for sure.
Well, let's do that. Let's do it. I love it. Okay, well, see, I figured you might need a little training along with the, the hulas and stuff. So, I mean,
yes,
come on.
And definitely,
just a little bit.
Definitely we will look for top-notch trainers because you've got to be a top-notch to draw us away from the beach and the palm trees and the pool.
Right. Or we can do it on the beach. I don't care. We do it on the beach.
Exactly. Just by the pool. That would work.
I'll project my voice. We can do it.
Yes. That would be awesome. Well, if you've got just a couple more minutes, we'll allow some people to ask some questions in the chat. Cheryl, she's one of the jewels on my team, and she asked, what does your typical morning or day look like? What are some of your success habits?
Absolutely. Great question, Cheryl. I get that question a lot, so it's a great question. So basically, I start the day with gratitude and I end with gratitude. I grew up in a household, you hear these stories all the time, right? That we were poor, but we didn't know we were poor because we were so happy. We freaking knew we were poor because my mother reminded us every day that we were poor, okay? So it was not happy. It was not fun. I hated it. Hated it. Poverty, lack, fear, all that not enoughness. Why do you think I'm writing these books on head trash? Hello. You see what I'm saying? But my point is that I am not a natural gratitude person. My wife is. She just is like awesome. And that's why I try to be more like her every day because she always has those rose-colored glasses on, seeing the best in everything. And I'm like, how do you do that? Yeah. But the truthful answer is you do that by, at least for people like me, who it's not natural. You consciously are grateful. And so basically, when I wake up in the morning, first thing is I thank God for the gifts of my life. I thank God for my health, my eyesight, that I can hear, that all my fingers and toes work and I can walk. And just all those things that, honestly, there are millions of people that don't have those things that we take for granted every day. And, again, speaking for myself, that if I don't consciously do that, then, it's easy to fall into that resentment, I'm not enough, the victim, all that stuff. That, of course, doesn't help us at all.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so that's the first thing. Then, so that's the mental game, right? The inner game, gratitude. And then for the outer game, meaning my physical body, I have basically a 10 to 15 minute stretching routine that I do every morning. I've been doing it for 30 years now, a long time. And as I mentioned, I was a professional ballet dancer, so I'm still pretty limber. I can still do my splits. And yes, I'll show you that in Maui, as long as you bring me in. I'll do my splits. You heard it here. But anyway, so yeah, I have like a sort of a yoga tai chi, just very simple, just to make sure, because frankly, as we get older, being flexible, limberness is really the number one most important thing, really. Mm-hmm. When we're in our 20s, 30s, which I know some of you are here, and that's great. You want to have that muscle tone, and of course, I'm not saying that's not important, but as we get older, it's really flexibility. That's where people, they fall and they break things, and as long as you stay flexible, you can really, I think, avoid much of that, if not all of it. Mm-hmm. And then, so, that's the getting ready. And then I have a protein shake, a very healthy breakfast. So that's all very nice and just sort of, I guess, it's just preparing for the craziness of the day, Yeah. So, and then one thing that I do want to mention, and this is so crucial because I talk about this so much, do not check your email first thing in the morning. And I used to be able to just say that. Well, now I have to add, and don't check Facebook. Don't check Facebook first thing in the morning, unless you want to go insane. If you want to go insane, then by all means do that. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? It's just insanity. Are you serious? And talk about a time suck. It is the greatest times. It used to be just email. Now, great, we've got email and Facebook. Oh, brother. So, I've heard it said that email and now Facebook is just a compendium of other people's agendas. That's exactly what it is. So as long as you want to be read by other people, by all means do that. if you don't want to be run by other people, then you've got to take conscious control of what is my day going to look like? What am I doing today? I don't care about those other people. I don't care about their agendas. Everybody's got their agenda. Well, what's my agenda? What am I going to get done? Just like you just said, Rhonda. I mean, how many people in your same situation would have all kinds of excuses of why they couldn't do it? Well, you did it. You've done it. You're the example. Okay? So, I mean, that's the whole point is you're setting your agenda and then you're going and doing it and you're going, hey, if I need the information, I'll get it. But don't sit there and gather all this information and read all these blog posts. Again, I'm not saying it's not valuable or what have you, but my gosh, it's got to be your agenda, getting done what you want, setting your goals. So like, for example, at Money Mindset and Marketing Mastery, that's where we start. That's where I start with my coaching clients, my mentor clients. What do you want? What is your vision? And they go, I don't know. Okay, well, that's your results. If you don't know, how can you get it? You can't.
Yes, right.
Okay.
I know. I want to scream when you say that part because I preach it over and over and over. It's
I
like,
know.
how can I help you get to a place you don't know. There's no place on the map for it. It's somewhere out in imagination. Like, I need you to put a little pin on a map and say, that's where I want to go. And then I can take you there because that has a destination.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I talk about, and this is why people really get this, if you notice, my teaching is simple. This isn't hard. It's not complicated. If it's complicated, we won't do it. If it's complicated, you think I could have made people have $1 billion? I don't think so. My point is, do you get in your car and just drive around? Probably not. I mean, even if you're taking a leisurely Sunday drive with your family, you probably have some kind of a destination, don't you? Oh, well, let's go take a drive down to so-and-so. Right? You're not just driving around in circles, but that's what so many people are doing with their lives.
Exactly.
They're in their car, which is called life, and they're just going, well, I don't know, where are you going? I don't know, it's not.
Yeah.
And that's the point is you've got to have that destination. This is part of my dream success formula that I talk about, and the D stands for destination. Where do you want to go? Not necessarily what do you want, although that's part of it, but it's where do you want to go and by when? Again, when you get in your car, even if you're going down the store to the grocery store, you are going down the street to the grocery store, you know where you're going and you know why you're going there. How about your life? Isn't your life more important than a trip to the grocery store? Of course it is, but people don't think about it that way, and that's why they're stuck. So, Cheryl, I know that was a really long answer to your question, but I hope that helped. I hope that was helpful.
That's awesome. It was helpful to me, so I hope.
Good.
Elizabeth had asked, who are your mentors, or any authors because I know we can be mentored in a lot of ways. We can be mentored without physically even,
That's right.
being, you and I being in the same room together. But so who are some of your mentors?
Although I hope we can do that someday.
Yes, I hope we can do that too. That would be awesome.
Well, I will share a story with you, just a quick one. But in 1992, I decided to commit suicide. I decided that nobody cared if I was on this earth or not. I was broke and poor and lonely and just angry all the time. No friends. I had survival jobs that I hated. And I'm like, why am I here? This just sucks. I hate everything. Why am I here? So I don't want to be here anymore. I tell that full story in the book of Affirmations. By the way, I never told that story before because I never wanted this teaching to be about me. I'm kind of like the opposite of all those gurus out there that it's all about them. I don't know why I'm the way that I am, but I never wanted this whole thing to be about me because I guess I've always realized personality versus systems driven. But anyway, Reed Tracy, who's the president of Hay House, said, no, you got to tell that story. You got to put that story in the book of Affirmations. So I finally did. And a lot of people have said that they're very glad that I have. So anyway, in 1992, I decided to commit suicide. And then, of course, well, I'm still here. So, of course, I didn't do it. But it was a miracle at the very, very last moment, at the very last second that I didn't take my life. And I felt that I had been spared because of a miracle, really. And so after that happened, that experience, I made a commitment to God that I would devote the rest of my life to serving Him, to serving God, and serving humanity, however I could. Well, it wasn't until 5 years later that I discovered Affirmations and Success Anorexia. And then I finally knew why I was here on the earth, is to teach the world about Affirmations, Success Anorexia, Permission to Succeed, Power Habits, and now Money Mindset Mastery, inner game and outer game.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that process, I ran across the teachings of Dr. Stephen Covey, who is the author of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that, it wasn't even the book, it was an audio tape set. That's how long ago it was. It was in the mid-90s. It was audio tapes.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what that is, just Google it. It's a thing that goes around in a circle. Anyway, so I went to college, and I very consciously was following in the footsteps of Dr. Covey. He was a religious studies major. I decided to be a religious studies major. And so one day I decided to call him. I decided to call his office and see if I could interview him for a paper that I was writing at college. And, you know, this was, again, 1996 is when it was. And so I called the office, and somehow I got a hold of one of his secretaries. And I said, you know, my name is Noah St. John. I'm a huge fan of Dr. Covey. And I just wonder if I could, you know, interview him because I'm writing this paper and he's been a big influence on me. Well, of course I thought, well, maybe, 6 months, a year from now, because of course he's so famous and so busy. And she said, could you hold on for a moment? And I said, of course. So she put me on hold, came back online. She said, how's next Thursday? And I was like, wow, really? So of course I was so excited. And so I got to interview Stephen Covey for 20 uninterrupted minutes. And he was exactly, if you've ever read, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or any of Dr. Covey's work, he was exactly what you want Dr. Stephen Covey to be. He was humble, he was wise, he was brilliant, just literally like an amazing, amazing man, amazing human being. And so I asked him one question, and this was a question that I really wanted to hear what he said. I said, Dr. Covey, what do you do when people like worship you? Because you're a rock star, and you get all these adoring crowds, and how do you handle that? And I mean, I'll admit that I did have a dream back then of being on those big stages and talking to tens of thousands of people and influencing people. This was before I had made my discoveries, but I had this dream of maybe someday it will happen for me. And I'll never forget what he said. He said, Noah, he said, I always want people to leave my seminars more impressed with themselves than with me. And I said, I get that. I said, okay, I got it. That was one of the most powerful things that anyone ever said to me. And I think that is the main reason, or certainly one of the reasons why I am the way that I am. That I'm not, you're not going to see my cars and watches and houses and stuff. Again, nothing wrong with that stuff. I'm not putting it down. I'm not even saying whatever. But if that's what Dr. Covey said to me, and of course he's no longer with us, sadly. We lost him a few years ago. But I am trying in whatever way that I can to carry on that legacy and to, frankly, bring a different awareness to this industry that I feel desperately needs it right now. And that is to have people more impressed with themselves than with me. And I'd love to have thousands and thousands of more stories of people making lots of money and being happy and losing weight and finding love, and which we have all those stories. And I just want thousands more before I'm no longer here on the earth. So
that's awesome. I love that quote. That is certainly something to live by. That's one of those write it down in the top of your journal where you read it all the time, quotes. And so that's really powerful. That's awesome. And so outside of Stephen Covey, who else was one of you would kind of put up there as one of your great mentors?
Well, the other one really was Dale Carnegie. So these are both virtual mentors.
Yes, virtual mentors.
So Dale Carnegie, of course, wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. But the book that actually affected me more, helped me more, that he wrote, which not a lot of people know about, is How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And if you go to my YouTube channel, which is, I'll just type that in here just for the heck of it, which is watchnoahtv.com. Watchnoahtv.com. You'll see that, I did a whole book study on how to win friends and influence people. How to win friends and influence people. And then also how to stop worrying and start living. Because again, like I said to you earlier, I mean, I was raised as a worrier, as a,
right.
The sky is falling kind of thing. And again, I'm not trying to throw my parents under the bus, but they were certainly raised in a much worse situation than I was, but they struggled, they worked hard, they sacrificed, but it was just that constant poverty, fear, lack, not enoughness. And so it took me a long time to get over that. And that was one of the books that really helped me.
I love that you shared that story with everyone, because I really feel Noah, my husband, he's been sitting here the whole time listening to this as well. You can say,
hey, how are you? I saw him in the video.
I know, yeah. My husband's amazing. One of the things I'm really passionate about is we help lead people through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University about money, and one of the things we encounter over and over is that just that spirit of poverty, mindset, that poverty mindset, that constant worry. And you feel like even if you told them these tools or gave them these tools, right, of debt snowball, $1,000 in your bank account, all of that it is so ingrained in their mind that, like you said at the very beginning of the call, is that we make true everything we're thinking and feeling.
Yep.
And it only solidifies then that belief in our head even deeper and deeper, because we made it come true. So just such wise counsel that you've given us so much tonight. So many things that I think people are going to come back and really, I hope, take those and begin to work on those steps piece by piece so that they find that kind of freedom.
Well, absolutely. And I'll just go ahead and write in again that, because I know we've had a lot of activity on the chat, the moneymarketingmastery.com. Again, that is our live event that's coming up in just a few weeks. And again, you can join us on the live stream. If you can't make it to Vegas, we'd love for you, of course, to come out to Vegas. It's going to be a really powerful transformational event. And we certainly would love to have, and we already have, I know some Plexus folks who are going to be there, both live and on the live stream. So you'll be in good company. But yeah, these are, just some of the nuggets. And, by the way, we do and also encourage you, if you want to, if you are coming out, you can also bring your kids, because we actually had at that same event that Bill was at that I mentioned, we did have a family, husband and wife, and they brought their teenage daughter. She was 16 years old, and her name's Stephanie. And she was 16, didn't say a word the whole weekend, but went home, and her mom told me that after coming to our event, she opened her own online business right there, 16 years old. And now, she does leggings, like custom leggings. Are really pretty. And hello, I mean, come on. So anyway, for the folks who are thinking about it, but definitely have your teenager there or whatever, we encourage that, because of course, look, one of my missions on the earth is to, as you just said, Rhonda, to alleviate, the way that I call it is to eliminate not enoughness from the earth, to eliminate not enoughness. I can, and I do make the argument that almost all of humanity's problems come from the belief of not enough. When you really think about it, most problems come from a belief in not enough. Think about war. War is, there's not enough to go around, so let me kill some people.
Yeah.
Any kind of poverty is obviously not enough, and so again, I do make that argument. So when we can understand these, when we can get rid of our head trash, when we can use affirmations, use the Power Habit System, which we now call Money Mindset Mastery, but when we use these tools, then it creates a ripple effect. Because just like on your team, being a perfect example of that. Talk about the ripple effect. And, that's why I want to hear from all of you, the folks who, have read my book, use the teachings, or, going to come to the event or my online programs, whatever it is. I want to hear from you. I've already heard from many folks in Plexus about how, they've used my tools to change their lives. And that's why I do this. So, I want to hear from you. I want to put you all on our wall of fame, at Success Clinic. And, so that's why I do it. And it's just a real privilege. It's a real honor to do this work and to share it with all of you.
Thank you so very much. What are the dates in Vegas? We have a couple of people asking.
Sure. It's November 9th, 10th, and 11th. November 9, 10, 11. So that's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And it's going to be from 9 to 5 each day. And actually on Saturday, we usually end a little early, like 4 o'clock. So if you want to catch a later flight out of Vegas, you know,
Okay.
you can do that on that Saturday. So again, it's November 9th, 10th, and 11th. And for those of you, if you want to join on the live stream, you get lifetime access to those videos, by the way. So we definitely encourage that, and we'd certainly love to have you there, because it's so exciting to see, you know, like that 16-year-old girl. I mean, you know, come on. And I always say, if a 16-year-old can do it, what's our excuse, you know? Come on, let's go.
Come on, let's do it. Well, thank you. Well, that's what we are going to do. We are going to take this and we are going to continue on that and put it into action. Not only what we've read, but actually take those steps and begin to put those into action. So thank you again so much for your time. You've given us an entire hour, which is so valuable and such a blessing. So thank you. Thank you for giving back in that way.
It's my honor. Thank you.
All right. Okay, team. Well, thank you. I know they're all going to thank you over here in the chat. It'll blow up with thank you.
Yes. Somebody says I'll be on my wall of fame. Yay.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Well,
They've all said they want to see you in Maui as well.
Let's do it. Come on.
So
My wife is already, she's already packed. It's like, okay, we got to do this.
So we'll make a Plexus majority and
exactly. Let's go.
And Alec and tell them how much you've given back to us, and I know they appreciate it as well.
My pleasure. Wow, this is wonderful.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And thank you, Andrea, for hosting this.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you very much
she organized this and put it all together, and I'm very grateful for you, Andrea, in orchestrating all that and connecting us.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, hopefully we can have you back. Maybe in a couple months with to share a night of successes and to share some success stories from people that I think that would be just a really full circle moment, you know?
Absolutely.
To kind of bring some people back together.
I was saying like right after the first of the year, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be really, really neat.
Let's hit the ground running for the new year.
I agree. Instead of, waiting till January to say, oh, now we're going to start, now we're going to begin. I think it would be really awesome as people continue to work in this group and continue to make those affirmations and take those steps. In January, we'll be celebrating accomplishments versus, hey, this is what we're going to do in the future.
Exactly.
That would be awesome.
And that goes back to setting that agenda I was talking about. So let's set that agenda, and
sounds good.
I'll be here for you, and I'd be delighted.
Oh, thank you. Yay. That will be awesome. Well, thank you so much. We won't take up any more of your time. Tell your wife we said thank you. We hope you guys have a great rest of the evening.
We're going to circle July. It's July, right? Yeah.
July. No, we go every year in September.
To Maui?
To Maui, yes.
September. Okay, September.
Yeah.
I'm circling that.
Okay, circle it. All right. Thank you, Noah.
You bet.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody.